Hey, what's going on, everybody? It's Wilhelm Scream, and welcome back to another day in Destiny 2 for some more Destiny 2 news and Into the Light / the Final Shape intel. And in this video, we have so much to go over because we are going to be covering Pantheon. I promised you a video on all the different cheeses and exploits that you can use in Pantheon, especially if you're a solo player and have never actually raided all that much. So if you're somebody who has never really participated in any of these raids previously, and now you're jumping into Pantheon before Final Shape actually launches for the very first time, then this is a video that you're definitely going to want to watch, because we're going to cover weapons you want to bring with you if you have them, as well as things you're going to want to know in each one of the raid encounters that will make you, a novice player, look like anything but a novice player. So if you enjoyed this video, please remember to like, comment, and subscribe to the YouTube channel, and turn on the bell to post notifications so you never miss out on any future Destiny 2 Into the Light content like this. You can also follow me on Instagram or Twitter. They'll be linked in the description box down below. And remember, any of those things also enter you into any future giveaways on this YouTube channel. And we do one every 1,000 subscribers, so you never want to miss out. And of course, if you stick around till the end of the video, I'll have that secret hashtag you can leave in the comments section for another entry into the next giveaway for this video. And remember, I do those secret hashtags on all videos. So if you haven't done this on a previous piece of content on this channel, you can always go back, check out another video, and of course, do it again. Now, there's a couple of things I wanted to cover before we actually get into any of the actual raid encounters. And that's some stuff that you're going to want to maybe know heading into the next week, as this is a multi-week process. We will be getting more raid bosses, more raid encounters in the upcoming weeks. And though we only had 4 this week, as you can see here, there will be a total of 8. So first off, we had Golgoroth, the Caretaker, Atrax, if I'm saying that name correctly, Atrax from Deepstone Crypt, and then we will have Oryx from King's Fall, Rolk from Vow of the Disciple, Riven from Last Wish, and Nezarec from Root of Nightmares. Now, of that last 4, I think everybody will probably have the easiest time with Oryx, as it's maybe the most well-known and certainly has been around the longest, or maybe Riven. Now, I will cover all of those particular raid encounters in detail when they are released, but I did want to give people just a little bit of foresight in what to expect in the upcoming weeks, especially if you're someone who is a solo player and, like I said, doesn't raid that often. Maybe these are a couple of things that you can brush up on before then. But now let's head into the actual raid encounters that we have so far. Of course, we have the Caretaker, as you can see here. Before it, we have Golgoroth. And then after this, we will have the planets, or Atrax, which I think is probably the most complicated of any of the current raid encounters, and then Atrax. So things that you want to bring with you as far as weapons are concerned. One, if you have Thunderlord, which I'm sure most people will have, even free-to-play players will get Thunderlord, it is by far the Swiss Army knife of all of these raid encounters. It is never a bad thing. You can use it in any raid encounter, and though it might not be the best overall DPS, it is certainly going to compete. And if you're somebody who is really not playing raids that much, it's also great to just have a good heavy machine gun available for ad clear if you need it, and it's just a versatile weapon all around. For Atrax, which is the last raid encounter, if you have the Parasite grenade launcher, or really any heavy grenade launcher if you don't have Parasite, that's what you're going to want to bring with you. Parasite will probably be the best just because of its one-shot damage, and I'm sure you'll find that most of your fire team, even if you are in a pickup group, will be using it. One other thing I wanted to cover as far as weapons are concerned. Now, this is rewards based on the actual Pantheon. These are supposed to be upgradable or enhanced perks on these weapons. These are the ones that you're going to be getting from your triumphs after you've actually completed Pantheon. You might want to hold off on picking some of them up, because for some reason at the moment these weapons are bugged. and we're supposed to have 2 columns of actual perks, but instead we only have 1. Now, interestingly enough, normally these columns of perks will be filled out if they are available, and if you can't pick another one, it should default to having it filled out already when you actually equip the weapon. But you'll notice that, for example, on the Zul's Bane, when you pick it up, explosive payload was not actually registered, so it wasn't actually selected. So you can select these 2 extra perks, but you're supposed to have an option there, which is why they're not selected. So these are currently a little bugged out, glitched out, and though you can pick your masterwork, which is great, I picked a blast radius masterwork. I'm not totally sure how that's going to work. Some of the masterworks don't seem to be actually for these weapons. Some of them seem to be for things like swords. I don't know how a shield masterwork or a shielding masterwork would work for a hand cannon. So I think that's also a little bit bugged out at the moment. There'll also be a Triumph at the end of the completion of Pantheon, which sends you around the courtyard and the tower a little bit. And I think that might play into the coming weeks. So just another thing to know. And if you are a solo player and you're looking through Fireteam Finder to pick up a group in order to compete in Pantheon, something that I do want to mention, an interesting exploit that you can use, is through the filters, as there is a refresh that takes 30 seconds on Fireteam Finder. However, if you add a filter and then apply filter versus refreshing, it will refresh the page for you, and you can continually do this so that you don't have to use the 30-second cooldown on the filter and get the best possible chance of getting into any particular raid group. So that's just a little thing that I thought solo players might benefit from. Might not be that big a deal, but if you're looking to just get into the best possible group and not miss out on any chances, something you probably want to know. Now, we are going to get into all of the actual raid encounters and things you want to know therein. One, for the Golgoroth encounter, if you haven't played this that often, once you get to the damage phase, so after you've cleared out all the ads, cleared out the knights, and you've shoot the goo on the ceiling to drop the little puddle on the ground in order to actually do damage, you will possibly be one of the people who gets what's called unstable light. This is a debuff. Now, the reason you want to keep an eye out for this, and it's going to be the thing that I think is going to make new players the most caught off guard, is because if you get unstable light and the countdown timer gets down to 0, you should start off with about a 6-second countdown timer, you explode. And that explosion, though it doesn't kill you, will kill all your teammates. So if you're in any close proximity to any teammate, they will die. Interesting thing about Pantheon is it seems that that debuff is now applied to 2 people versus 1. And if you still run away from all your teammates, yet you are still near the teammate that is also about to explode with unstable light, you will kill each other. So the best thing to do when you have unstable light is actually just get away from everybody. But if you can coordinate it enough with the teammate that is also unstable, the best thing to actually do is to run directly to Golgoroth, stand as close to him as possible, and the explosion from unstable light actually affects the boss as well and will cut down on your total damage phase, meaning you will do a lot more damage than you would otherwise. So just make sure that if you are doing this in a group, it's a great thing to know if you're new to that particular encounter, but make sure that you tell the other person who has unstable light whether or not you're going to the right side of the boss or the left side of the boss, or just staying away from everyone altogether. The Caretaker has an interesting mechanic. This is honestly the raid encounter that made me step away from Destiny for about a week after I was first done completing it. I'm not a fan of this encounter. There's nothing about it that I like. And I'm just telling you that on the onset, as if you can tell that there's a little bit of animosity in my voice, it's because I really think that doing this encounter on day 1 when it was first released caused me permanent eye damage. The other thing I don't like about this encounter is the fact that you have to sort of have the boss follow you to a specific point, and the boss can be very buggy and very glitchy. You have to stun them constantly, and the stuns don't always register on time. Occasionally, the boss will turn around and not take a stun. There's a lot of little things in this particular encounter that can go wrong that have nothing to do with the players actually doing anything wrong that can totally screw up a run. Not only that, it's a really, really long raid boss encounter, and because it is damage gated, you have to go through everything. There's no chance that you could actually just speed up this process in any way, which is another reason why I don't like it. But there is something very important to know for when you are doing damage to the boss, as there is 3 plates that you will be standing on to do damage. The first plate, you can just have at the boss. Go at them with heavy machine guns if you have them. Thunderlord will also do very well here. Know that there is a strand buff as well as a void buff in the Pantheon at the moment. So if you have a strand heavy machine gun like I was using here, that'll also do really well, or a void one. But for the first plate, just use your heavy machine gun or whatever does the most damage for you. For the second plate, in any one of the phase, you're going to want to use your primary weapon. That's because you can actually over damage this boss. And if you want to be able to do the most damage possible, you don't actually want to do that much damage during the second phase. Because if you do too much, the boss will actually just teleport to the next round of the encounter. I know, it's very stupid, and it's also one of the reasons why I will never like this encounter, and there's nothing anybody could ever say to me to convince me otherwise. So just for you new players, know that it's not something that I think is always said in every raid group, but it's something that you will notice if you do it correctly versus if you don't. You will have a lot more time on your damage phase and ultimately will do more damage. Now on to the planets, or Zorak, however you like to say it. I'm just going to say planets because it's a lot easier to pronounce. Also one of the most complicated encounters, I think, in any raid, and certainly one of the hardest to actually get people to agree on as far as the method. Now, to explain it all will take some time, so I'm going to break it down into a very short synopsis. There's a boss on one side of the room, you spawn in on the opposite side of the room. There can be a big discrepancy over whether or not people like to consider the boss side the back of the room or the boss side the front of the room. Do not get held up by this argument. Whatever anybody wants to agree upon as far as which side of the room is which, just agree upon it, because it's not going to matter at the end of the day. At least not so far as the positioning of what is the back and the front. The other thing that you're going to probably get into a lot of discussion over is how to actually number the planets. I've been in many different raid groups, and we've done this every single way possible, from numbering the planets 1 through 6 on the left and the right, versus numbering them through 1 and 3 and having the 2 different groups. So there's a top 1 through 3 and there's a bottom 1 through 3, or a back 1 through 3 and a forward 1 through 3. I've seen people do this in a mirror fashion where the planets in the middle closest to where you spawn are always 1 and the ones on the outside are always 2. The one on the top is always 3. All of those things are not the way to do it. They're all ridiculous. Don't get into the number game. Avoid it altogether. The easiest way to do this is, if you notice, the planets are sitting on a triangular platform. All of them are. There's always 1 planet at the top point and 2 on the bottom left and right points. Left and right will always be the same regardless if you're on the left side of the room or the right side of the room. So always make the bottom left of the pyramid left, the bottom right right, and the top the middle, because it's the same regardless if you're at the back or the front of the room, or however you like to agree upon it. It's always left, middle, right. And that is by far the easiest way to remember the planet locations when you're doing your swaps, and just do it that way to make your life a whole lot easier. The other thing about this particular encounter is rather than going to all 3 plates for damage and setting up your buffs there, be it Well of Radiance or whatnot, just have a Well of Radiance in the middle, because all you need to do is run through those plates in order to get the buff, in order to do damage. So it saves you a lot of Well of Radiance. It also lets your Warlocks do more damage with other supers to cut down on the total damage time. Now on to Atrax. Atrax is actually a very simple encounter, at least compared to Planets or even Caretaker. It's been around for a while. I think it's a very good raid encounter. Parasite is going to be the thing that you want with you. If you don't have a heavy grenade launcher, swords will also work. You want to make sure that you all do damage at the same time. And I would recommend maybe having 2 people downstairs and sending the 4 up top, because you're really not going to need 2 or more people downstairs. If you do, you can have 3 people down there. But ultimately, you just need to get the buff from downstairs, bring it upstairs in order to take the debuffs off people's heads if you need to. But you should be able to 1 or 2 phase the damage on this boss, so long as everybody is doing damage at the exact same time. One thing that you could also know about this encounter, if you are not having the best or easiest time one phasing it, and you do have to deal with the Tormentor, which are added to all of these encounters now, is you can actually get the Tormentor to go out the airlock if you have to jettison the debuffs. Though I'm sure most people will just juggle them at this point. So if you're a new player and somebody says, let me shoot that thing off your head, just let them. That's the way to do it. But I'm sure for most new players, you'll be sent up top in order to just do damage. And for the most part, I think everybody knows enough about this encounter, and it's simple enough where you shouldn't have too much trouble getting through it, even as a newbie. And that is going to be it for all the information in today's video. Hopefully you found something in this video helpful. Remember to loot the robot at the end of the Atrax encounter. It will be there by the chest to get your free exotics. There's a whole bunch of exotics from different raids. Touch of Malice is also there this week. More will be added. There's only 2 available at the moment, but it's a great opportunity if you've never had the chance to do any of these raids, or if you just haven't had this weapon drop on you, to actually pick up these exotics, these great raid exotics. We have, as I said, Touch of Malice, as well as Eyes of Tomorrow. Touch of Malice I got on my very first run. Eyes of Tomorrow took about 80 runs, so I would have loved Pantheon to have been around about 1.5 years ago. But in any case, as I said before, thanks so much for watching. If you've watched to this point in the video, you can leave a hashtag Pantheon or a hashtag Into Light or a hashtag Final Shape in the comments section down below for another entry into the next giveaway for this video. Remember, when we reach 100,000 subscribers, we'll be giving away an Xbox Series X or a video card if you play on PC. Big shout outs to all my clan members. Big shout out to Sinister, Cognito, Ducky. Also wanted to give a special shout out to Sinister's son on his 8th birthday. Happy birthday, Lucas. And of course, as always, I am Wilhelm Scream. We will see you next time. Good luck with your Pantheon completion.